Thank you everyone for coming again. This is our third meeting, so I really am grateful to all of you. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about our guest speaker today, Mike Murburg. And Mike, as some of you are probably aware from the information that was sent to you, owns the Darby Ranch in Dade City, Florida. And since February of 2017, Mike has been holding CE5, or what they call HICE or HICE events. And HICE stands for the Human Initiated Contact Experience. Mike started out originally holding groups with contactees to meet and discuss their experiences and to obviously receive some clarity and understanding from being able to talk about various forms of phenomena that they had all experienced so they could begin to make some sense of it. Mike is affiliated with etletstalk.com. He's the contributor to the book Beyond UFO, The Science of Consciousness and Contact with Non-Human Intelligence, which can be found on Amazon. He's also done a presentation at the Aliens Revealed 3-day video summit in January of 2020 and attended the UFO MegaCon in March of 2019, where his talk was the connection between heightened states of spirituality and consciousness awareness. So you can clearly see that Mike deals a lot with the consciousness and the spirituality of the CE5, and I love that. He does a weekly radio show on WTAN, which I believe is out of Tampa Bay. It's 1340 AM. And that radio show can be viewed at imho.love YouTube channel. And I want to welcome Mike. Thank you so much for coming, Mike, and being a part of our group today. And I'm going to make sure you're unmuted.
Thanks for having me.
There you are. I can see you. So, Mike, if you want to take it from there and share with us a little bit about the ranch and your intentions, and we'll probably have some questions for you as well.
Yeah, Costa Macraeus kind of christened this place as Darby Ranch because he didn't know what else to call it. It's only 5 acres, but I'm surrounded by a lot of large ranches that run between 10,000 acres and 2,500 acres. So it's a great area for viewing. I do have cattle here. We used to cull cattle with the operation across the street, but needless to say, Darby Ranch stuck, and that's what we've been calling it for the last 3 or 4 years. I've had a lifetime of contact. I'm 65 in October, so I've had 63 years of contact. It's waxed and it waned, but the most recent contact was CE3. These are all CE3s. And the last big contact was October of 2015, where I was lucky enough to, I had a missing time experience, and I was able to get the photograph of the entity that contacted me. And I know it sounds unbelievable, but nonetheless true. And I still have the photographs, but I did get a download during that period of time, and I'm working on the mission that was given to me as part of the download, and Darby Ranch is part of that mission. So here I am. As they say, if you build it, they will come. And I built it, and they have been coming, both the humans and the non-humans. So Here I am. We've been doing a regular CE5. It began with just me and Rose Bellissimo, who's a very good friend, and probably when I travel and do a CE5, we'll go together. So, hold on, let me. But we've been doing CE5s out here at least once a month for the last 3.5, going to be 3.5 years coming up. And when I first started out, I took, I had people come up and I did one-on-ones and made contact. So I did that for a while. It became very time-consuming, life-consuming too. I mean, actually, the COVID-19 virus and it gave me a chance to take 2 months off and get caught up with everything else that I put on the back burner for the last few years. So, I've had some amazing experiences. I'd be happy to have people ask questions. They need to know about me. They can Google me and, read up on me. I've had a wonderful life in so many ways. So,
Okay, sure. I'm going to start with a question that I have, and just kind of preface that with many of us that are here actually come to you through the app that we all joined or downloaded by Dr. Greer based on his last movie, or at least that's how I found it. And he provides protocols in the app, but he also says that the best protocols are from your own intuitive guidance. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about the protocols and mention that, for those of us that are coming to the ranch for the first time, that will be meeting with you prior to the event, possibly to work at understanding those protocols a little better. So I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that.
Well, yeah. The key is not to make it too complicated. I wrote my own protocols in 2017, and since then they could probably do with some fine tuning. But when I get the time, I will. But the reason I wrote the protocol is I had a friend that wanted to do this, and she was having a horrible time making contact. So what I included was an element of forgiveness, because you have to come to this with an open heart. And if you're bearing grudges, if you're not in tune with your own life and the people around you, then this probably isn't going to happen unless you're with other people that are what I call antennas, and they have a very strong ability to bring their star friends, the craft, whatever you want to call them, in. But I found that forgiveness for me was a big part of this, because before I started, my son died during his special forces training, and he had been literally killed by gross negligence and recklessness by his commanding officer. And I had to find it in my heart to forgive the people that caused his death and move on. And if I hadn't done that, I never would have come to my state of mind and heart that I have today, that brought me in contact with what I'll call it, divine intelligence, back in October of 2015. So it was a long metamorphosis of healing, and it worked. When you forgive, you let go of a whole bunch of karmic baggage that you wouldn't be carrying with you otherwise. And and one thing progressed to the next, and I became a true student of the Tao, which brought me into further understanding of how the universe operates, which brought me into contact in October of 2015 with this entity. And and it's changed my life completely, to the point where um, I it motivated me to study further. And I've got an article I'll be working on in June. I'm taking the month of June off, and the article is Carl Jung wrote about flying saucers. Not many people know that. He wrote a book in 1957, and I'll be writing on Carl Jung and synchronicity and flying saucers. And Jung comes back to the Tao Te Ching in his analysis as well. So having experienced what Jung only hypothecated, I can actually write with some degree of subjective knowledge as well as objectivity, having studied Jung in university. So I don't want to get off on too many tracks. I want to just try and keep it simple. Everybody wants to make contact, but the first element is forgiveness. So you forgive, all right? And then after you forgive, after you learn how to forgive, then you can move on to the other stuff, the, gratitude. And then, once you've learned how to forgive, then you move into the dissolution of ego, which means you give up a dichotomous world where opposites set off against each other. That dualism is what obliterates your ability to form unity consciousness. And unity consciousness occurs when you stop seeing self and other, when you start seeing yourself in others and others in yourself. Understand that we're all connected, we're all the same deep down inside. And then once you realize as humans we are all connected, that connection forms with everything else that is in creation, because it's all connected there. Before the discovery of oxygen and air, people would have said, there's no connection between human beings. But yeah, it's all connected, and it's as connected as it can be as far as creation goes. So once you understand that, then you get into the kind of unity consciousness that's required when you go into a meditative state and experience what I would call the bliss of pure being, and then send up your intentions out there, which ET, non-human intelligence, NHI, picks up on. And if you make your invitation, then they show. It's that simple.
Okay, thank you. I would like to open this up to any of the other participants. You can either do a reaction with a thumbs up to let me know, and I can, or unmute yourself. If you have a question you would like to ask Mike, you're welcome to. Okay, and Bob has shared with me a nice video on forgiveness that I will gladly share with the group later. One of the other things that I noticed is we should probably talk a little bit about your Facebook page, because this morning I noticed there was quite a bit of information out there, Mike, including the information about Carl Jung. So if you could give us that, I know some of us may have received it in a message from you, but I'm not sure that everybody here has joined in the meetup group.
Okay. Well, I have a few means of being in contact with people. Lou and I do the show, and it gets posted on imho.love on YouTube. We've moved out of the we were in the radio station for about a year and a half, and then we decided to move out because it was just too far a drive for me. So Lou comes up here to the ranch, and then we do a podcast. We do the podcast format now. I also have a Facebook page on for the ranch, and I post interesting articles there that deal with consciousness and contact. It's a fairly narrow application, and then my own personal Facebook page, and it's my alter ego in some ways, but you know, I am what I am. Uh, you know, I rail at the political situation, not the right or the left, but the fact that you know, we're being strangled in our ability to communicate and make up our own minds and not be treated as children by these government and quasi-government entities. So, you know, eventually, if CE5 grows big enough, it'll become a threat to the status quo. Because with, you know, I'm on the page with Greer on that. I may not be on his page a lot, but I think he's absolutely right when it comes down to, you know, the status quo has too much to lose in the $300 trillion worth of, of raw materials and energy that they'll be mining and soaking us for when, you know, when zero cost energy that we'll get from ET and HIB comes to fruition. So I think they're going to end up fighting us tooth and nail, and eventually, you know, we may be shut down. I mean, they did that with YouTube and, you know, the flying saucers and conspiracy, but then again, it got so large that, I don't know. I mean, this whole movement is growing by leaps and bounds. 3 years ago, I started Darby Ranch with 2 people, and now we have 200 members. So if it keeps on growing like that, in 5 more years, the world is going to be very, very attuned with what's going on, and contact will be widespread, I think. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where I went with it.
And he does have some really good articles I was reading this morning, and links to some YouTube videos. There's a lot of information. Does anybody else have any questions or comments or that they would like to ask Mike?
Okay, I have a question for Mike. How or have you had any experience with NHIs or ET in lucid dreams? And I know you mentioned your contact in 2015, in October of 2015. Was that like the most profound experience for you, or have you had others since then that have shaped your life in different ways? Or if you could just you know, expand upon that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, the CE3 in October 3rd of 2015 was absolutely the most profound, because there was a give and a take, and there was a bilateral communication going on. And but oh my God, the number of experiences that I've had. You know, the first CE5 we had out here with me and Rose, we had a craft come in immediately after we did our meditation, and then it was so astounding that I called Hollis Pope, my schoolmate from Princeton. I also have another site. It's called Princeton and Service to the Nation and Beyond, and I'm kind of a physics and astronomy geek, more physics than astronomy, and I post like egghead articles there. So if you have an IQ over 120, you may, you know, enjoy that kind of thing. It's you know, the quantum world, subquantum world. It's really kind of fascinating, but you don't have to know that or understand it to engage the phenomena. But God, you know, we had the second night we went out and we did a stand. We did a CE5 in the backyard here, and we had a craft appear over us and engulfed us in light, and then hit us with an energy beam. It was, you know, it was a little bit painful, but it cleaned my clock, and I was glad they said hello. But that was the second night, and Hollis is married to Costa Macraeus, husband and wife, I've done a number of CE5s with them. But I mean, this is so miraculous. I don't even know where to start. When you get a good group together, oh my God! When we're out in Shasta's easy. Shasta and Joshua Tree. I mean, I grew up in New York State and New Jersey. And we used to opening day on the Beaver Kill. I mean, it was full of trout. There's a million guys on each side of the river fishing for trout. They're all catching trout. That's what Joshua Tree and Shasta are like. If you're heading out there and you're not seeing UFOs, you're just not looking. I mean, I've seen motherships pass overhead, cloaked and, disfiguring the starlight as they passed overhead. I got a video of a brief video of that when it stopped and settled on the other over the mountains. I started a group of contactees who do a CE5 in Sarasota. Our first night down there, we opened a portal and watched, 3 ships light up, and actually a fourth one. And then out of nowhere, a flaming tick. It looked like it was flaming. I'm sure it wasn't burning, but it came out of nowhere, passed overhead, and then shot through the other. I mean, this stuff is beyond what you can imagine. And yeah, I've had a couple of lucid dreams on the second CE. And I'd never had lucid dreams before. I didn't put much stock in them at one point in time. But the second CE5 we had out there, that's when my buddy Lou joined it. He was like, "Oh, what's going on here? Let me learn how to do this." So the first night he was out, it was a textbook fast walker doing a dead stop on a dime and then doing a 120 degree angle at breakneck speed. That night I had 3 lucid dreams about a UFO, standard kind of what you would call a flying saucer, appear overhead on 3 occasions, and the dream woke me up. And by the time I got to the third dream, I couldn't distinguish reality from the dream state. So at that point in time, and it was all color. Before that, I never dreamt in color. I've been dreaming in color in lucid states ever since. But oh yeah. And one of the real bell ringer for me was on January 19th, 1979. I was driving up the Taconic Parkway. I was living in Vermont, and I was visiting my mother in northern New Jersey. So I decided, for some reason, to come up the Taconic Parkway because I'd never been up that way before. There's 2 ways you can go up the Hudson, on the east or the west. I took the east side this time. And I crossed over one of the mountains in the Berkshires. It's all farmland, and it was all snow, and it was white. It was beautiful. And I come to the top of the hill wondering what the big light is on the other side of the hill. And I got there, and I pulled over because there were about 30 or 40 cars parked in both directions. And then I saw this gigantic orb. It had to be at least 80 feet in diameter, and there was a pulsation to it. And strangely enough, that was the same pulsation of the entity that occurred in October 2015. But this thing did amazing things for us, and we were just looking at each other, wondering, what the hell is this? And then it took off to beat 3 other ships, whatever you want to call them, light beings. At about 65,000 feet. It was a Canadian high, no clouds in the sky, and then another ship came in out of nowhere, and then they all took off together. That was before internet, and of course the Rutland Times explained it as a gas for that. Literally, they said it was a little 1-inch blurb about this was a gas formation, the swamp gas, and it was like at that point, it was the kind of thing you didn't mention back then. I had a buddy of mine in law school, my son's godfather, was a major in the U.S. Army. He was a Green Beret guy, and he had been driving back from Pensacola to Tallahassee, and he had he had a saucer follow him for about 45 minutes on the Coast Highway, and it's the kind of thing that, you know, to, back in the day, to talk about this stuff, you had been thought, crackers, and people would want to lock you up. But the reality is it's the most real thing you'll ever experience, and you need no middleman to arrange it once you learn how to do this. I'm not saying it happens all the time, because there's a million reasons for them not to show, and one good reason to show, which means they got your message and they can do this, and they're here for you. And one of the things that I teach the group is, well, how do I know it's not a man-made craft? Or it's real simple, because what happens is once the craft appears, once the entity appears, you can feel your heart jump towards it. It is the sine qua non. It's the ultimate litmus test of making contact. Anything short of that is just an observation. But once you feel that heart chakra connection, I hate to use the term, but it works. I don't want to make this too esoteric, but once you get that, then you understand what the nature of connection is all about. So I hope that answers your question for you. There's so much. There's just so much. There's a ranch journal here, by the way, for the first year and a half. If there were any significant observations, I had people write in the journal, and I still invite them to, if they see something, or if we've seen something, and it needs to be documented. There's a historical journal here. So it's you come and you want to read it, that's fine.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mike. Is there anyone else that has a question for Mike at this time? Hi, Dan. I see you raising your hand.
I know. I feel like I'm not in school.
Okay.
Hey, I'm Dan Evans. It's a pleasure to listen to you. Do you have to direct your energy to reach out to make contact, or does it just come to you at random times?
That's a good question. The CE3s, the random contact happens at any time, but back in October 2015, I was not engaging in a CE5. That's before I learned how to do it. But what I was engaging in was I had been translating Lao Tzu's dialogues in the Wahoo Ching, which is a very deep Taoist text. And I was in such an amazing, peaceful state that now that I look back, because I've been translating or boiling it down for about 8 hours, I couldn't sleep that night. But because I was in such a peaceful state, and what I was contemplating and writing about brought this universal being in. The CE5 comes in learning how to calm your mind. I like Eckhart Tolle's instructions on how to meditate. They're very, very simple. And once you learn how to do that, and then send up your intention, then you just hope for, the best and what's going to happen. The important thing is to have no fear, because fear will change. If anything can be said about ET and non-human intelligence, at least the ones that I've worked with and the ones that I've experienced my entire life, is that they never bring to you more than you can handle, and they're considerate and courteous. So if there's somebody in the group that is likely to experience fear, they will not show. We have a among the my friends who have been practicing here for a while. We have the there's an episode we call the Cookie Lady, and we got out to the field, and it was about 8 o'clock, and nothing happened. We did our meditations, did a couple of meditations. There absolutely nothing going on, nothing happened. And this gal who came with, very very well recommended. I mean, she worked for she worked for somebody in the movement that was very well placed, and I highly respect them. But the minute she left at 12 o'clock without telling anybody. We saw her get in the car and go through the gate and then headed down the road. The minute she got down past the property line, then all of a sudden we started, the craft started to show, the phenomenon started to take place. And the reason how I found out that she was afraid was that she was in another group with another member of my group out here, and she confided in her, said, I was praying that they wouldn't come in close because I was so afraid. And that explained it at least well enough for me. Now, she did come out a year later, and she had, and I talked to her, and she goes, no, I've gotten over my fear. I can do this. And even though she said that she was not afraid her first time out, she was. But the second time out, she wasn't, and we had phenomenon taking place while she was there, and I was so proud of her because she overcame her fear, and we could all enjoy the experience of seeing and knowing that ET exists, and they responded to our call for contact. So.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Yeah, I have a lot of lucid dreams. A lot of times, I join my dreams like I don't know if you would call it an out of body experience, and I'm able to go different places in my dreams that I wish to do. And this is new, sort of, in my quest of learning things about why I am the way I am, and the certain attraction that I immediately get from people when I meet them that are like-minded. It's incredible. And just learning about this, I think everybody's known about it, forever. Some people put it off as, well, it's your imagination and this and that, but I don't. I truly believe in deeper power that people have that aren't afraid to look into it, like you say, the fear. And so the more I learn about it, I'll read some books on it and get a little more knowledge of people's experiences, and I'll work on getting there. And it might have already happened. I don't know.
Well, we have a member in our group, Derek Rickert. He's in California right now, taking care of his mom and his dad. But when he comes back, he's a regular member of the group. You should talk to him because he's a lucid dreamer, and he's learned to guide his activities in his lucid dreaming. So he has been working on that and taking it to a whole next step. And he's had. I wish he was here to talk to you about it, but as a boy, he met a young man. Of course, to me, anybody under 45 is a young man. But as a child, and in his room, it was strange. He couldn't figure it out. And last year, he actually figured it out because he traveled back in time, and it was him meeting himself as a child. And this is not unusual. There are other people that I've spoken to that have been members of the group that have had similar experiences, and they don't know how to process it. That's the toughest part. You know, one of the reasons I got really involved in this, because after I had my October experience, I got in touch with my classmates from the university, and they put me in touch with other people. And then I realized that there was nobody that treated this. There was nobody that I could talk to. And I found out that John Mack was dead. So it was like, holy Christ, the only person that I feel like talking to has been dead for like a dozen years now. But it's the same thing with lucid dreaming. If you go to a psychologist, you get the typical psychoanalytic, it's your dreams, it's your subconscious letting go of the stuff that's all built up during the day. But lucid dreaming is more than that. And I don't know if there's anybody other than the people that experience it themselves that know any more than they do. It's definitely hasn't gotten to the point where it's a science yet. And I think it's very real and it's very miraculous. And I don't know how to interpret it yet, but I'll tell you, there's a reason why the lucid dreaming gets turned on after a lifetime of not having it and having it turned off. You would think if it had anything to do with the subconscious, you can't control it, that it would always be entering there. But lucid dreams are more than just dreams. So that's my 2 cents on it.
What was the guy's name who you said I should, you wish he was here so he could talk about it? What was his name?
Yeah, Derek Rickard.
John Mack?
Yeah, Rickert. Yeah, he's a friend of mine on Facebook, so you can,
Cool.
you can tag him.
I just got on Facebook, so I'll try to figure it out.
Okay.
So thank you.
If you need the connection, then hit me up as a friend. My Facebook address is Norman Michael Murburg Jr. That's the best way to get in contact with me there.
Okay. Thanks again.
You're welcome. I'll set you up with Derek.
Thanks, Dan. Is there anybody else here who would like to ask Mike a question at this time?
Hi, how's it going? How's it going, everyone? I have a question. What kind of electronics or devices you guys use to initiate contact?
Well, none. My skinny on that is if you need to, if you need infrared binoculars, you're not doing it right. I mean, this is a close encounter. So, and I mean, my goodness, we've had entities come in and light beings playing with each other in the field. We had 1,000 points of light in a tree that existed throughout 3 hours that night. And they weren't lightning bugs or anything else. I mean, the phenomenon is just out of this world. I will say this, though. I didn't let people photograph out here until I got to know Ken Glanister enough to really trust him. And then I started allowing him to photograph. So the key is not to make the photography the point. He just keeps the camera trained on one part of the sky, and if something shows up, he gets it. I will say this, that I do have a laser pointer, and then so do other members of the group. You have to be very careful with those. They're illegal to use under some circumstance, especially if you're pointing at an airplane. So, if you got it dead on and you want a signal to a craft, having a military grade green laser is very helpful, because you hit them with one and then they'll signal back to you. But other than that, I'm a purist. My goal is to have them in as close as possible. Matter of fact, it'll be July 2 years ago. We brought in I and 3 members of the group in the Redlands brought in a Zendra, and that was another one of those really amazing experiences. I mean, if you didn't have other people there to witness it with you, you wouldn't believe it yourself. So, when people are bringing out, what kind of, no, you don't need any of that stuff. The key is to do your meditation, do your sequencing, and then hope for the best, and then just be calm. What I tell people is, look, I can't guarantee that you're going to see a UFO out here, because there's a million reasons not to show and one good reason to show. But I can guarantee that if you do it right, you're going to have a wonderful night of meditation. You're going to experience true being. You're going to meet the best human beings, the kindest, and you most perfectly loving human beings. They understand universal and unconditional love and acceptance. Most do. Some are still working on it, but that really doesn't phase the rest of the group. So, because we've had so many miraculous things happen out here. It's just, you just never know what's going to happen. But, yeah, you don't need to bring all the apparatus. All you need to do is bring an open mind and an open heart and a comfortable chair. Learn how to meditate, and the rest will take care of itself.
Hi, Mike. My question was, and I think you answered it. You've learned or seen unconditional love. Is that the greatest thing that you can say that you've learned from them? Are there other things that you've learned?
Yeah. What I learned was that I was on the right path,
Mm-hmm.
and that I had finished. I thought I had finished the book on the Tao Te Ching, and I went on to write another book on the Wahoo Ching. These are teachings of Lao Tzu. And the message, without going into any great depth, was that, yeah, I was on the right track. It actually straightened me out on what to call these entities. I thought I had gotten it right, and this entity said, no, you got it wrong. This is what a universal being is. We can go into that later, but yeah, bottom line is forgiveness and unconditional love. And it's something that we have to work on as human beings all the time, especially people that are over 40 or 50, because we've been so conditioned into a materialist world. And I think that's one thing that the COVID-19 has shown us, is that we can get along without a lot of stuff, but what we can't get along is without people. So yeah, I think unconditional love is and surrender to that universe that we cannot control, and give up any illusions that we have that we're in control, because we're not. Once you get that, and then once you start seeing yourself in others and others in yourself, and then start treating other people the way you wanted to be treated yourself, golden rule, and being reminded of all those things that we were taught as children, about the good side of this life, before whatever happened to us out there started taking it away. It's all coming back to that childlike innocence, and that and unconditional love, I think, is what it's all about.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it possible to make contact while you're inside your home?
Yeah, but yeah, it is.
By any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I and I don't know how I did it or how it occurred, but I actually had an extraterrestrial in my house a year ago, and I woke up and it was there, and it was seemed surprised that I saw it, and looked me right in the eye, and then disappeared. And yeah, it's possible, and but I don't know any formula for it. But there is a tried and true formula with use as much as the speed you're going to get there is by using by calming yourself and using the protocol and sending those very peaceful and loving and welcoming vibrations out there. You know, it seems absolutely imaginary that you can do this, but it's you know, it's real. So just relax, it'll happen, and you get with good people, and you're kind and compassionate to each other, and just, you know, that's the kind of thing that ET just loves to share with. You know, maybe they're starved for love like we are, and we're willing to send it up and asking them to join us, and that's what they do. So I haven't been able to set one down and talk to them about that yet, but you know, that's going to be on my list. I can't hear you. Hold on.
Another question.
Okay, good.
Have you had any success trying to remote view with your eyes open?
I had Nancy Dutetra, is a good friend of mine and a classmate of mine. And if you haven't read her stuff, she's a consummate remote viewer. And she also wrote How to Talk to an Alien. But after a weekend of her being here and trying to teach me remote viewing, she basically said, you can do it, but stick with CE5. I've had some success with remote viewing. It doesn't interest me that much. What I want is a personal relationship with the extraterrestrials or non-human intelligences that are here, because I think they have the answers to a lot of problems that we haven't been able to figure out, and beyond the physics of it all, but within the realm of humans treating each other properly and lovingly, so we don't blow ourselves up or eradicate life on the planet. I think that's the most pressing issue at this point in time. Buddy Bolton is a good friend. I don't know if you know about Buddy or not. He's a remarkable remote viewer, and Nancy was one of Ingo Swann's proteges. So her spelling of her last name is D-U space T-E-R-T-R-E. She married a fellow who's French. But if you want to, you know, Russell Targ is good too. She's a friend of Russell's. But if you're into the remote viewing stuff, hook up with Nancy. You can find her on my Facebook page. She's a good friend. So, and then just say I referred you, and you know, she'll treat you well. She's an amazing woman. I watched her bend spoons here with her. Don't give her any valuable spoons. They will all be bent.
Okay, Mike. Well,
souvenirs just in case.
oh,
I can't bend these things, you know.
That's awesome. It's 3:57 p.m. I just wanted everyone to be aware of time. And Mike, you know, we can close up anytime you're ready. Is there anybody else that has a question for Mike? Maybe one last question before we're done?
I do have one last question.
Okay.
So I've been through the CE5 app, and I'm doing my very best to follow the protocols, remote view, and so on. But I feel like like I want to advance the protocols and remote viewing. I'm not sure if I know you mentioned that you have your own protocols. I'm not sure how if your protocols differ from Dr. Breer's protocols. So my question is, um, should I just wait till the event or the meetup and learn your protocols, or should I go ahead and move forward with possibly purchasing like Dr. Breer's advanced?
No, don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do that. That's one of the reasons I developed my own protocols. Was
Okay.
you know, it was like he wanted $249 for a CD to.
Yeah, he wants 200.
Yeah, and then I like rolled into Jim Landoli, and Jim's a charm because he's a student of Dow as well, and I will send you my protocol all you need to do is write to me at Darby DARB Darby Ranch CE5 at gmail.com. Email me there, and I'll email the protocols back to you because you need to take a look at them, at least study them a little bit before you come out here. They're a little, and there's also a release on one of the back pages. So everybody who comes out here has to get a release, or give me a signed release in case you get bit by a red ant and go into anaphylactic shock. I don't want to get sued because it is a ranch.
So you said that was Darby DARVY Ranch CE5.
Darby Ranch CE5 at gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah, it also covers abductions too, because if you get abducted, I'm a lawyer. I covered these things. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I'll send you the protocol. The big difference is the forgiveness part, because I found that the people that are coming into this that carry grudges just don't formulate or they don't fit. You know, it's tough. You know, Matt Mirabana worked at ECETI, and they used to. His nickname was the Angry Monk, and he's an antenna. He gets incredible contact. You know, from the first time that he met Casa Macraeus, you know, they had just, he was off the charts. So you know, you'll find him too on my Facebook page. He'll be out here eventually. He was going to come out here to work, but he got a better gig going on. So, but yeah, send it to me. I'll send you the protocols and just learn how to meditate. The best thing you can do is, you know, check out the Eckhart Tolle meditations, Eckhart Tolle, Tolle, and how to meditate. One of the links is on the protocol that I have, but you can listen to it now. There's 15 minutes, 20 minutes. There are a couple of them out there that are good. And if you can learn how to meditate from Eckhart Tolle, you got it down. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
How do you spell that?
Yeah, ECKART space TOLLE.
Okay.
Space meditation. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this is Judy. I just wanted to, Mike, you sent me a message from your Meetup app. Would anyone who signed up have also received that message? It was sort of like an introduction message with a lot of links in it. Would they have also received that too if they've signed up?
Yeah, they do. It's automatic for me to send out the welcome, and the welcome is rather long, but at the end it says send me, you know, send your email to me at Darby Ranch, CE5 at gmail.com, and I'll send you the protocol. That's how I kind of operate it. So everybody who comes here comes through the meetup, That way I can keep track of who's here and who's not and that kind of stuff.
Okay, so if you did sign up through Meetup, there's a message for you from Mike. And there are two videos that he's included in that message that are on YouTube that Stephen and I watched this morning that talk about the protocols. There's actually a protocol book that it's linked to, so you may find that really useful. We enjoyed watching that, and we actually downloaded the PDF of the protocol book, which is a nice resource. And it does seem a lot simpler than the protocols that Dr. Greer has given us with the making the sounds and using a walkie-talkie radio and having to, make noises and all those different things. It sounds like really this is more of a state of consciousness that we're going to get in and as a group in a more of a unity consciousness is sort of how I'm sensing what this all is.
Yeah. My goal is the democratization of contact, and I discussed this with Costa Macraeus on numerous occasions, and he's like, if people understood how easy this is, they wouldn't believe it. And I've been on board with that. I don't charge anybody to come out here and practice, so I don't have to make it esoteric. You don't have to jump through hoops to make contact. All you need is an open mind and an open heart and your ability to share it. And, that's all you really need. Celia Hatch, by the way, I probably put the link to her book, a CE5 handbook, which is now in like 4 or 5 different languages. And it's free as well. Celia and I did a CE5 together in 2017, had great results. She's been out here to the ranch, had great results. And she's a real sweetheart. And if there's really any other CE5 questions or somebody worth knowing, it's definitely Celia Hatch. So.
Thank you, Mike. And then one last, I'm not sure if everyone here is actually signed up for the event, but I know that you have a limit of the number of guests at any time. So I'm guessing we're pretty close to that threshold. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm getting close, but I may end up taking it off because this is the last CE5 that I'm going to have until probably September, the last scheduled one. And because it just gets so darn hot and wet and the mosquitoes are horrible. I've done it every single summer. Last summer, the results were lousy. You'd get out to the field at 10 o'clock and it would start raining. And so I'm going to probably, if there is a limit, I'll take it off. The ideal number of people out here is about 20. Anywhere between 9 and 20 is a good group, but we'll see what happens. If we have good people, 20, 25 would be fine. We had 37 out here when MUFOD showed up, and that was just awful. I won't do that again. So.
Okay. And then the other thing you had asked us about coming early, is that still something that you want the people from this group to do?
Yeah, I want you to be comfortable. There's kind of a drill where you park your car, where you set up, and if you get here an hour early, I'll have time to meet and greet, and kind of get you acclimated, and it gives you some time to just get comfortable with the environment. So I think that's important too, because if you're not comfortable with knowing where everything is, you're not going to be able to focus on meditating and making contact. So I want to keep the stressors low. So if you get here a little early, that'll keep the stressors low.
Okay, and we bring our own supplies, our own chairs, our own water, whatever we're drinking that evening, those kinds of things. That's correct.
Yes, yeah. I got to remind you though, I got an 88-foot well in the Zephyr Hills Aquifer. This is the best water in the world out here. So
oh, great. Okay.
Bring a cup or a gallon jug. You're more than welcome to take it home.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again so much for your time. We really appreciate it. It's nice meeting you in person. And this, just for everyone, this interview has been recorded, and I'll be putting it through my video editor and posting that out and sharing it with Mike so he can post it out on wherever he wants to if he chooses to. But in the meantime, I thank you all for coming. It's great that our group is just cohesively coming together, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you all in person, whoever's coming next week. I'm, you know, I got goosebumps. I feel like it's going to be another level up for me. At least that's what I'm looking for, and that's my intention. So thank you again, everyone. And I wish for you a great day. And thanks, Mike. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mike. We appreciate you.
Now you.
Have a good day, everybody.
Take good care.